Yeah, thank you very much. So welcome everyone. It's kind of sad for us that we do this online, but yeah, it is how it is. So to start with, my name is Emmanouil Vasilomanolakis. I'm an assistant professor here in Aalborg University in the Copenhagen campus. And today, basically, I will be showcasing this capture the flag, and we will be playing together with this. I just want to mention that this is work mainly from my colleagues' side, and I'm just using it, but more credits for that later on. So how this will go is that I will give you just a few slides with introduction about what is this, the tool that we are going to use. And afterwards, we will switch to the actual platform. You should have a link to that. And I do recommend that you can create a team already, a lab for this, because if you do it all together, we might have issues in terms of the scalability of the system, since it is a bit experimental, we have to admit. That said, I will continue, I will start. So what we will be doing today is a capture the flag competition, and this will actually use our tool called Hawkins. This is a developed platform, virtual environment for cybersecurity training platform that we have developed here in Aalborg University. And what it is actually, it's basically a virtual environment that provides you with a Kali Linux instance. Probably most of you will know what Kali Linux is. It's a Linux distribution for security and penetration testing. I will actually explain what it is later on for those who might not be experienced. So what Hawkins does is that it creates this nice virtual environment where you can, out of the box, start playing with Kali Linux and with challenges without installing anything in your own device. So everything is run through a browser, basically. Other things that you see in this slide, yeah, it's a fully automated setup. We got a lot of nice funding from the Industrens Fund. Sorry for mispronouncing this. And it's also open source. So theoretically, you can also take it, the code, and try to use it yourselves locally in your universities or in your organizations. This is just a screenshot from when you're creating a team. So if you have created one, that you will see that there is also one called Manolis, which is actually my short name or my nickname. And you have to, yeah, solve a CAPTCHA, and then you have an account, basically. You do not, by the way, receive any confirmation email, just so you know. We will come back to this later. And basically, when you have started, and afterwards, I will just go to the system so that you can see it live. You will see that there are a number of challenges. And when you click one of the challenges, you see actually more details about what it is and what you're supposed to do. So if you click network scanning, for instance, you see that in this challenge, you have to find the web server. It's a rather simple challenge. And then when you find the flag, you basically copy paste it in this field. You click verify, and then you get some points. You can also see like how many people have solved the case and so on. And when we start, basically, these things that you will be seeing. So you have a Kali instance, and you can do a lot of things. I will just skip this and just talk about it during the session. There is a nice also scoring system where you can actually see how well you perform. This is sad because if we would do it live, in person, we would have this open and you could see the live progress. And I would have brought also some gifts for whoever wins the competition, which is a bit hard now to do. Almost done with the slide. So Hawkins, it is quite unique in many ways. So it's highly automated. So it's really, really nice that you don't have to, to install a whole Kali machine and then start working on things. It's easy also for people that haven't touched this capture the flag part, and I will go very slow for you to be able to understand what's happening. The challenges or the flags are also dynamic, which means that you cannot just copy paste the flag and from someone else and then, cheat, let's say, the system. And the same goes with the IP addresses. So what I will be showing in my machine will not be exactly the same IP addresses that you will be seeing in your labs, basically. So bear that in mind. And as I said before, it is open source. We are working actually with many Danish universities collaborating with this. And there are many exciting things actually coming up in the future about it. Again, you should have seen this. I think it's already in the chat also. This is the very important URL that you will need to be using and creating a team. I see now that we have like 6 teams already created, or six people, I guess, in this sense. Usually when we do it in person, we match up people together, we group them, and then you can just start as a group. In our case now, we just have individuals, I guess, joining in. Again, I will come back to the details of what you should do after you join. Now, as I said, this is experimental, so it might happen that you get some errors. There is an info button when you go to the web page, and there you can see some problems, usual problems that we see happening. So copy pasting is one. So if you copy a flag, sometimes you cannot copy paste it outside the virtual machine. It's a common error, and then you might also experience some connection errors, which you might have to reset your VM, which you can do actually from the challenges page. So if you have any kind of problems like this, hopefully no, please check the info button. If nothing works, just let me know, and we will try to fix it. And almost done. So last slide. Yeah, basically, if you need any further information, I've given Jacopo the slides also. I mean, so this, you can just find them online. There are a number of useful links for further playing with Hawkins, our platform. And of course, if you want to collaborate or you want to do something with this platform, feel free to contact me, or even better, you can contact my colleague Jens Petersen, or anyone basically in the Aalborg University. Okay, so that said, we are ready actually to start. I will just quickly stop sharing this screen to change my screen that I want to share. Hopefully I can do this, yes. And now we need to find the correct screen, yes. So, okay, now I'm sharing too many screens, 1 second. You should be able to see this, right? What I'm doing now in my browser. Okay, perfect. So this is now the main page, right? So now I assume that you have created an account. If you haven't, please just do it. I see now that we have 9 people creating accounts. I probably will have a bit more, I hope at least. And then the next thing you simply have to do is click this connect button. And when you click this, and hopefully you can still see what I'm doing, right? When you do this, you will see something like this, okay? So this is basically now your lab environment. This is a Kali Linux virtual machine running on your browser. And this is what I meant, that this is kind of very, very nice and fast. And basically, whenever you create a new account, new labs or new VMs are running, which is very nice. So now I know we probably have different kind of experiences here in these participants. Okay, so I am interested into helping the people that have never, seen Kali Linux, or they haven't actually participated in a CTF. So my plan is to first give you a quick intro about what is this Kali, just very quickly. What does it mean, Kali Linux? What you can do with it. And then I will just very slowly start going through the very basic challenges. In the meanwhile, of course, if we have rather experienced people inside, I see that some of you have already started solving stuff. That's completely fine. I just want, to take care of the people that are not that familiar with these things. so that they don't feel alienated. That said, so this is how Kali Linux looks like. It's a very, very useful and very, very much used security distribution based on Debian. That basically what it does, essentially, it is that it has a lot of pre-installed penetration testing tools. Okay, that's what it is. It's Linux with pre-installed penetration tools. It has a quite nice, as you can see here, gathering or grouping of the.
Probably we are still looking at the slide where the browser tab where you show the themes and.
Oh, okay. 1 second then. I guess I need to always stop sharing and then sharing again.
Could be.
Just 1 second then.
Unless you share the desktop, probably.
Okay. Yeah, but I think it's my last time of changing my share. So now, hopefully, you see my lab.
Yes. Now I think, yeah, we can see Kali Linux.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, this is what I meant all this time. And this is what I've been saying just now. So if you go to applications, you see a nice grouping of different things, basically, that you can do depending on what you want to do. And of course, I'm not going through all of them, but you see meaningful things. So if you want to start with just information gathering, so beginning of an attack or a penetration test, we have other things we will see, for instance, later about sniffing and spoofing. There are wireless specific attacks if you want to crack some wireless network, password specific attacks. So let's say you have some hash that you want to crack, and so on. And yeah, by clicking any of them, basically, you open a terminal or a GUI if there is a GUI, and then you can start using it. Okay, that's about Kali Linux. I mean, it's a very fast introduction to it, but I'm sure many of you also probably know it already. So that said, I want to start now very, very slowly. So the idea usually with capture the flag competitions is that you start without knowing anything. You are just given a system, and you are supposed to find out everything by yourself. So that's what I said, that if we have experienced people here, you can just start solving cases and don't wait for me, because I will go on purpose rather slow. Okay. So what you want to do when you first basically start capture the flag competition is to check the network status of your system or of your network in general. So to do this, in Linux, basically, we use a lot of the terminal. I know that it looks scary if you haven't used it before, but it's a very common tool that is super helpful for a lot of things. I hope you can also see, like, in quite detail my commands that I type here. So what I will start with is just a command called ifconfig. And what this command will tell me is basically the different network adapters that are associated to this virtual system that I have, right? And basically what we see here is that our system has an Ethernet connection, so it's a cable connection. And what is very interesting here is this, basically. This gives us the IP address that we have been assigned. Now, as I said in the beginning, if you are now doing it yourselves, you should see actually different IP addresses here. And that's on purpose, because I mean, we also use this platform for teaching, and we don't want students to just copy paste IP addresses and kind of cheat, let's say, the system. Now, with this knowledge, we can actually start going deeper, let's say, into the network, okay? And to do this, basically what we want to do is perform a network scan of the IP space that we are into. What I haven't mentioned, by the way, is that you do not have internet access in this lab, right? And for obvious reasons. So if I, for instance, I try to ping something, you see that there is no internet connection. But going back to the actual discussion that I had, what I want to do now is try to learn a bit more about the network that I am in. And if you go to this information gathering folder, let's say on Kali, you already see actually a lot of different tools that you can use. I will be using Nmap. So you see it's already here. I will just use it on the terminal that I am in. And Nmap is a very, very powerful network scanning tool that actually you can use it in a very basic way, but you can really learn about it and do a lot of, let's say, more advanced things with it. But basically what it can do is that you can provide it with an IP address, and then you can basically scan this IP address and see, for instance, which kind of ports are open to this system, and so on. And so what I will do now is I will take the IP space that we are in, so this thing, and I will do a very simple Nmap execution, which basically looks like this. So I don't want to scan my own IP address. I want to scan the whole block, the 24 block. Okay, and I will click enter. And now what Nmap is doing is scanning all of the different systems that exist in our network and will show us basically what is happening there. So what is the output that you can see? We see that there is this IP address here, 0.3, that has some port open. There is this 68 that has an HTTP. So this is a website. Excuse me. We have 124 that has, again, a web server, but also with TLS. So maybe there is a login form in this area. And then some others. And also we have one that is actually an FTP server, as we see. And now if you see at the same time the challenges page that we have when you create an account, these all actually relate to these challenges. And how the system works is that when you solve these challenges, and these are like a rather easy challenges to solve, then you can proceed to the second part of the challenges that are a bit more advanced, okay? But for now, I'm still going through the basic ones. Again, for experienced people, feel free to just go through it. I see that half of you basically have solved a few of them already, which is nice. And that's actually the point, I mean, of a competition. So actually here we have already kind of discovered the first and easy challenge, because if you go and check the challenges, one of them is called network scanning, and basically tells us that we just need to find a web server somewhere. And from our Nmap look just now, we see that it's probably either this, or it could also be, I mean, this. But I will first try this to see if this is something that gives us a flag, okay? So a very simple way to just check what is this web server is opening a browser, right? I mean, it's a website, and going to this IP address. And this is what I will do. So if you go to applications, you can see that Firefox is pre-installed in this VM, and this is what I'm gonna use. And what I will do is just copy paste the IP address. And you see that basically we have just solved our first flag, okay, our first challenge. So now what you should do is basically you copy this. Okay, I will just do it. I don't want to now share again my, stop sharing and sharing again, but basically I will copy paste this and put it in the challenges. And I will click verify flag. And now if you check my score, I just got 5 more points, basically, because I solved the network scanning part of it. Okay. If anyone is stuck or anything, please maybe try to use the chat. I guess it should work. Ideally, you would say, raise your hand, I would come over in your area, and then we would discuss various problems. But with Zoom, and I have so many monitors right now, it's slightly more difficult to cope with a lot of questions. But hopefully you got now the understanding of, okay, we solved the first rather simple, let's say, challenge, okay? Now, the next challenge, it's a bit more interesting, and it's called network sniffing. And what it says, if you read it, it says that you have to find some kind of unencrypted login. So unencrypted traffic, basically, in the network. We have seen that we have a lot of systems, basically, and that probably talk to each other or perform some kind of traffic. And what we want to see is if there is actually unencrypted traffic going on in the network. So how do we do this? We can go again to this nice grouping that we have. And what we are looking for here is called sniffing. So sniffing in the network setting means to try to sniff around in the traffic to see if there is people, for instance, using just HTTP and not TLS over HTTP. That would mean basically plain text passwords, for instance, or unencrypted traffic in general. I will showcase two different ways now to solve this challenge. The first and most straightaway thing to do would be to open Wireshark, and this is what I will do. I'm sure probably all of you know what Wireshark is. So Wireshark is a network analyzer. It's a very, very, very common network analyzer where you can just start it on and monitor the traffic that is going on through whatever network you are using. And then depending, of course, if you are using an encrypted network or not, you will see different things, okay? But I assume you know what Wireshark is. And I will enable Wireshark on F0, which is the Ethernet port, by double-clicking it. And now, hopefully, what we will see is traffic going on. And this, of course, fake, let's say, traffic that is generated in our virtual environment. And we see already a number of things, right? So we see some DNS traffic here, some HTTP, some ARP requests, and so on. And for now, you don't need to know all the protocols that exist. We will see that basically what we are looking for in this case is inside the HTTP. Okay. I stopped it because, I mean, as you might notice, the traffic just keeps repeating itself after a while, so we don't really need to keep monitoring forever. So what I will do now is I will try to go in one of these HTTP requests to see what is happening there. Because if you see here, it says HTTP, and then in the information, you see that this is a login attempt. And that sounds kind of interesting for us, right? Because HTTP by default is plain text. So this might mean that we can find stuff in the traffic. And it's as simple as that. So you see here that if I open the actual package, the details of the HTML, we see this, okay? And this is very, very interesting information. So we see that someone tried to log in with something, this email, Karsten at netsec.eu.dk, and we already see a flag here. So basically you can copy paste now this flag to the network sniffing challenge, and then you will get these 8 points. And we also see the password of this user, which is this more1932, a rather weak password, if you would ask me. So this is done, okay? So we now solved the network sniffing part. The reason that this worked as simple as that is because someone was trying to log into an HTTP system without any proper encryption. I will quickly showcase a different but similar way to do this, just because I really like this tool, which is called Ethercap. Ethercap is another network sniffer. It's kind of unique because it's a bit more cybersecurity specific in the sense that it can perform a number of attacks, also like man-in-the-middle attacks in a rather easy way. And it works rather simple. So we can start sniffing by clicking unified sniffing, which means that we will use the Ethernet again as a network interface. And actually what EtherCAP will do is provide you with a very simple, as you can see, setting. So it does record packages, and you can also go deeper into details, but it also just gives you here information directly whenever it assumes or it thinks that it has found some password or login information. I will stop it because again we are already done, and here it's again the same, right? So we see that it's Karsten, blah blah blah, and then we have the flag, and then we have the password. Okay, so if you now take this again, I will just also do it for myself. You have to be careful of what you're copying now if you use this. But if you put it now on the network sniffing, you will get also the points for that. Just let me quickly do this so that I can also progress as we go. And in the meanwhile, I guess that all of you are also solving things. Another thing that is very simple now to perform after we have found this email and password, and the natural thing, right, to do is to try to think, okay, where is this person trying to log in, right? I will close at least Wireshark for now. And I mean, if we see again the Nmap situation here, we see that, okay, we have gone here. It's just an HTTP website that gives us the flag. So the next natural, perhaps, place to go is this. So what I will do is I will open up again Firefox and just go here. And here we see that there is actually a login setting. I hope now I'm writing it correctly. And I'm just putting here the information that I found when sniffing, right? And basically, the moment you log in here, you already get this flag. And this flag is the flag for the web server login. Okay. Again, a rather simple flag since it's just the sniffing around and then the logging in with this. Now I forgot that I have done it already. So actually what you see here is already kind of the solving of the SQL injection. So if someone had issues finding it, SQL injection, it is actually inside here. So I'm not gonna go in details here first. I want to do the FTP brute force attack first. But for those who are already starting and doing things, this is the place when you can start playing with SQL queries to see if you can get the flag that you see here, basically. But before that, I want to quickly give you also an introduction to this FTP server challenge, because it's a quite nice attack to also perform. So if we click again, if we check the challenges, the FTP server login challenge basically tells us that we need to find a way to get a flag from the FTP server, and it actually gives us a hint. So it says go John, and John in this case, I mean, probably many of you are not familiar with, but it's John the Ripper is one of the well-known, let's say, cracking programs in Kali, but in general also in security. And it also has a number of, let's say, basic dictionaries that you can use to perform an attack, such as the one that we want to perform. So what do we want to perform? Is an FTP brute force attack. Why? Because if, for instance, I try to connect to this, and actually I can do this also with a browser. I mean, browsers usually speak FTP. So if I do this, you see that we are having a pop-up that says authentication required. And I mean, you can also do this in terminal to try to connect to FTP. So I need to put something here meaningful, because if I just put, I don't know, root, for instance, it probably won't work. So you see that it says login incorrect, right? So what we want to do is perform a brute force attack into this FTP server. There are, again, a lot of actually tools to do this. So if I would go here and I check the password attacks, you see that there are many. So there is this John and Johnny. There is Medusa, which is another well-known. There is also Hydra. I guess it's just not shown here. Or maybe it's here. Yeah. If you go to online attacks, which is live attacks, you see also there is Hydra. There is also Ncrack, which is, it looks similar to Nmap in a way, but it's for brute forcing attacks, and so on. So it's a matter of choice here. I will just start with maybe Hydra, just to show you how things work. Whenever you don't know how a tool works, usually if you type Hydra, for instance, -8, you know, or Hydra or man Hydra, it will give you the manual information, which is usually quite useful in many ways, because as you can see here, it already gives you examples of how a command looks like. Okay. Now, what I will need here is also a password list. And if you remember, the tool already gave us a hint that we should use something related to the John the Ripper password list, perhaps. So what I want to do first is find this. And I know that there is a folder somewhere. I mean, I don't remember everything by heart, but if I search for it, I see that if I go to this user share John folder, okay, so I'm just going in here, and I click ls, which shows me the contents of this folder. You will see here that there is this password.list or password.lst, and this is actually a password list. So if I do a cat password list, which is showing us the contents of the file, you see that there are a long list of potential passwords, like rather weak passwords that we want to try. Okay. So going back now to Hydra, right? If I just type Hydra, it says that I can use something like this, and this is actually what I will use. So what we want is L for the user. So for starters, I will just click root, which is a common username. And the next thing that I will put is the password list, which actually is this password.lst, since we are in this folder already. And then the IP address of the FTP server, which I have here, right? So just a matter of specifying that this is FTP. And that's all that I need. So if I now hit enter, the attack is starting, and it will try a number of things, all of these passwords basically. And it, of course, needs some time to actually go through it. Now, because I know now already the solution, of course, I've made a mistake on purpose here. And the mistake that I made is that I explicitly set the user as root. And actually, this is not the correct username that we want in this case. So what I will do is I will stop this now, and I will rerun the command with the correct username. And the username that we are actually wanted here is admin. It's a very common, so admin or root are the most common usernames for FTP servers and similar servers, right? So in this case, it is actually admin, the one that we need. And so I will just click this. Now it tells me that, you know, something else was running before. So actually, if you want to restore this, I could stop it and then it will restore the previous attack, but I'm not interested into that. So now this is running, and it takes a few minutes perhaps, and then we will see if the attack was successful. What is the attack trying to do? Well, it takes admin as a user and it iterates all these passwords that are in the file that I've shown you before, this password list file. Okay, so it starts with admin and password, for instance, admin and I don't know, this password and then this one and so on. And if it finds something, it will let us know if there is a weak password on it. In the meanwhile, I'm also checking how you are doing. So I see that many of you now have solved, or all of you actually have solved at least one, which is nice. And there is one going quite good. So 98 points, congrats. So here it gives us an update. So it tells us that it takes some time actually. And what I wanted to see, to check also at the same time, is maybe different tools. So I saw just now that there is also this other, there was one that maybe has a, Hydra in this case, also has a GTK, which means that there is a GUI interface, which looks like this. I just want to show it to people that they do like GUI things. So this is again Hydra, just a GUI interface with it. So it's similar, right? You can put an IP here. You can check the port that you want because it's FTP and so on. In the meanwhile, if you see my other screen, actually we got a hit here. So the brute force attack already finished, and the output is admin and the password is Thunderbird. So now if I would go back to this FTP server and try to connect to it, let's see what will happen. So admin and Thunderbird. I click OK, and you see that we managed to go in. And now we see that there is a file called do not open.txt. So of course, what we will do is open it because it's not, it says do not open. And now we see that we got this nice flag. And we can go again back to the challenges. And then we got it, okay? I think in the challenges, if you don't like one, I think you can also click skip, and then you can actually proceed to the second level of challenges. But now, before I continue, I just want to give you also some time for the people who have just been following me to maybe work a bit on the challenges, and then I will return in a second with finishing up with the SQL injection. And then hopefully some time for the other part of the challenges as well. In the meanwhile, please do ask me if you have questions. So now it's a good time. I think I can probably find the chat somewhere in my many windows.
Well, I can read the questions so someone asks, don't worry.
Okay, that's good. And another nice thing is that basically when we finish the first class of challenges, so these 5 challenges, I've shown you already 4 of them. And the nice thing of the system is that basically it will turn off all the traffic or all the challenges that are now irrelevant when you have actually solved them. And the new challenges, so if you go to the challenges in the second page of it, with this web exploitation and forensics, this is what will actually be activated. So this means basically that if you do an Nmap, again, you will actually see different things.
There is a question, but probably is already answered. Where did you find the password.lst?
Yes, that's a good question. I mean, I'm sure there are more places actually in Kali Linux where you can find it. What I did is I searched for it. So I put like locate zone, because I know that inside this zone program, there are word lists. What you can also do is locate word lists, probably. And then you see that if you go here, in many of these packages, actually, you can find different password lists. But to be specific anyway, you can find it in this. So user shared zone, and in this folder, there is this password list file. It's just basically simple, very, very simple, and minimum password list. So there are much strongest and bigger word list in Kali. The very famous one is called RockU, which has millions of leaked passwords. And these are usually the ones you want to use in a real word penetration test or attack. If we have any other questions, feel free. Otherwise, I can also quickly just show you the SQL injection attack. The problem is I just clicked now skip challenge, and then I'm moving to the. So probably this will stop working for me soon. The internal forum, I mean, because my lab is now changing. But as I said before, so an SQL injection, I don't have too much time to explain what it is, but basically it's a very well-known attack, a web-based attack that exploits the fact that in some CMSs or in some systems, you give some input that is not properly filtered. And basically you can inject SQL queries that look like this. So if you're familiar with SQL in general, or SQL, some people call it. So union select email password from the table users means that you would get all of this data out if this command would run successfully. And how this is done, so there are many ways to do SQL injections. The most common actually is to do this on the URL of a website that's vulnerable. But in some cases like this one, you can actually try to write something here and submit, and this is just posted in this fake forum. But basically, if you start playing with this for some time, you will see that this is vulnerable to SQL injection. So if you would actually start putting things like this, you will eventually find this flag that you can see here. So this is a rather more actually complicated challenge to find. I mean, now I'm just showing you the solution of it. But at the same time, there are tools. So if you go again to the nice groups of attacks that we have here, there are tools in general, like SQL map and some others that actually take a URL and they try to check if there is an SQL vulnerability in the URL itself. Usually it's for URLs, but some are actually even more advanced. So you can automize this usually, right? So you don't just try all the different things that you can do to perform the attack. And usually how SQL attacks works is that you try to identify what kind of SQL system or database is running. So, you know, there are MySQL and there are many others. And then try to exploit some things like, for instance, this here means that is a comment. So the reading of the command is kind of cheated in a way, and the same with apostrophe. So it tries to create a fake looking, like a legit looking command, so which is just text, for instance. But then at the same time, it tells the system to run this actual SQL query to the database. So usually, if you would actually successfully run an SQL attack on a system, and this would work, you would get a full list of the whole table with emails and passwords, if this, of course, exists in the database. In our case, it's not that realistic. So if you run it correctly, you would get a flag that looks like this, and then you can actually proceed basically to the system. Okay. And that's pretty much it with the first pack of challenges. Again, if some of this doesn't work for you and you just want to proceed, you can always click skip a challenge. And when all your challenges from the first part are done, you move to the next part. I hope you understand what I mean by parts. So it's in the main website, if you go to the challenges, there is this 1 and 2, and you can switch around between the two. But note that when you go to 2, it means that all the previous ones are not, you cannot do them anymore. Do I hear a question?
There is no questions, some comments, but I have a question. So, the people attempting the challenge and they capture the flag, do they have a time limit, or can they usually, because we scheduled this
of course, yeah,
finish at 2:40.
Yes, yes.
Able to continue also after?
Yes, so I think I will. We will keep this running for today, and people, of course, are welcome. I know that 1 hour is not enough for sure, especially if you listen to me and being like, slow and so on. So we will leave it open for at least today. I think that should be fair enough, right? The whole day, and you can keep playing with them. I think especially in the second part of it, there are many very interesting attacks actually. And I can either stop whenever you want me to stop, or I can just continue with 1 more.
Please go on with, we have at least other 10 minutes. So if you want to show some of the attacks for more interesting challenges, you are most welcome to proceed.
Okay, yeah, I think I can do this. So what I would like to show you next, so there are many actually nice options, as you can see. I want to show you Heartbleed. If you click the Heartbleed challenge, it tells you, okay, have you heard the Heartbleed vulnerability? One of the servers is vulnerable to it, and by exploiting the flag, you will find the vulnerability. So very quickly, what is Heartbleed? Heartbleed is basically, well, it's now a rather old attack, but it's very useful to learn some tools like Metasploit. Heartbleed was an attack on the implementation of TLS, specifically for OpenSSL, which is a very well-known library that implements basically TLS. And the problem was that when you could do this attack, many websites that used TLS or HTTPS were vulnerable, and you could extract memory dumps of the server that could include potentially a lot of passwords, for instance, and so on. So it was a very painful attack for the security community that happened some years ago. Of course, now OpenSSL is patched, so hopefully this vulnerability doesn't really exist anymore. Now, the first thing I need to do is to maybe try to see again our network, because it has changed, right? So if I do a quick Nmap again, now we are looking specifically for HTTPS servers. So let's see. We see actually that there is this one, for instance. that has HTTPS, but there is also this one. So we have a couple of options actually, and this one, and so on. So we have to probably check all of them to see which one makes sense. And to do this, we will use a very, very powerful toolkit in Kali Linux and in general, which is called Metasploit. So Metasploit is a very powerful toolkit that you can use for a lot of penetration testing things or hacking things. Now I just activate it, so it takes some time. You can find it either on the favorite screen here, or by going to the, where was it, in the exploitation tools. So after some time, you will see that Metasploit will actually load. And what we want here, first of all, is, I mean, it's a rather complex framework, so don't expect me to explain everything, but I can show you the basics. So if we search for the Heartbleed exploit, it will at some point gives us options regarding what kind of attacks Metasploit has. So you see when it loads that it has all of these thousands of exploits, payloads, encoders, and a lot of other nice things. So the idea here is to find the relevant Heartbleed module. So we see that there is this actually. And now what we can do is write the command use auxiliary scanner SSL and OpenSSL Heartbleed. And when we click this, basically this attack module is loaded into Metasploit. So it's kind of almost ready to use it. Usually then what you can do is write show options. And then what you get here is, okay, the different kind of options that you have. So what we are actually interested here is this. This is very important because it's the remote host that we are trying to attack, okay? So now I don't know actually which of the servers is vulnerable, but let's try with this one, for instance, okay? With this IP address here, which is one of the HTTPS ones. I don't know if there was any that only had HTTPS, because maybe that would be an indication. But I don't see something like that in my scan at least. So I will just go blindly and check. Ah, no, there is one, this. I will first try this because this one only has HTTPS. But it's up to you to see how you try this. So what we want to do here is use the command set and say that set our hosts and give this IP address and click enter. And now basically it has set this up, okay? And it's as simple as this. So if I click, if I type exploit now, it should start to work. And it tells us actually that there is a vulnerability on this server. Now, what I haven't done is I think I can set, how was this? If I do this, it will tell us more about the attack while happening. So if I exploit it again, this magic happens. And this is actually what attackers would see when they would exploit, well, almost like this, a vulnerable system. In reality, what they would see would be a dump that is different. So all of this. So what you see here is the flag, right? Which is nice for this case. But if you would actually, back in the days, exploit a Heartbleed, what would happen is that you would get a full dump of data. Some would be completely random data. some would actually be like admin accounts or other kind of accounts of this server, which was very, very painful, as I said, for the research community, the security community. With that said, I think I'm kind of okay in time. I don't want to show you more or confuse you maybe more, but hopefully you got a very brief, fast introduction to both like capture the flag competitions.
There are actually questions if you are ready to answer.
Yes, of course.
So the first question, very relevant, I guess, is are there any good tools or documents, probably to the tutorials as you go along? I mean to capture credential, paths, host IPs, etc.
I didn't get if the question is to the lab specifically or in general. What was it?
It's not, it doesn't, probably for the lab in general, for the lab in specific, and if you have also like suggestions how to find more information or good pointers for starting to understand more about this info.
So yes, so first of all, in the main page of the Cyber Days 2020 NTP event, there is a button called Visit the Tips and Tricks page. And if you click this, there is a nice guide with some basic information about Metasploit, for instance, network sniffing, and a number of attacks. So that's one thing. Other than this, I think I would take it separately. So if you want, for instance, to learn more about doing a brute force attack on FTP, I would search manually for a tutorial because there are so many nice tutorials online, and I would go into that direction. Or if you want to learn Metasploit, I think that takes some time, but there are, again, many tutorials similar to what I just did very quickly now of how to use it.
So there is also like a comment, I think the question was about good tools for note-taking, documenting progress. Does it...
For note-taking, documenting progress?
For note-taking, documenting progress.
Well, to be honest, in CTFs, what I usually do is just use a text file where I try to, or even a real paper, where I try to map, the network that I'm seeing, what techniques I used, and things like this. So I don't have something much better right now, out of my mind at least. Even though I do believe there are better solutions than what I just said.
Then another question is, how many parts are there in total in the competition? Are there any crypto challenges?
So in general, yes. In this particular competition, what I put was mainly, as you can already see, some forensic, some web exploitation, or a lot of web exploitation. And this is for this, at least, capture the flag. Other than this, we do have more challenges, actually, that I didn't put because I felt it would be too much for people for just an hour to have so many challenges. But we do have them in the system. And probably when the beta versions are running, you can already see them. So we always have a beta CTF running for everyone to check. So I can share these links for the participants.
Okay, and that's it. These are the questions, and well, thank you again for presenting the challenge and to allow also the participants to use your system and to compete and to try to grab the flags.